If you're about to form an LLC, I want you to stop and watch this video first. There are some really big mistakes that a lot of people forming an LLC make and don't realize until it is too late. Now, some of these mistakes can be corrected and aren't that big of a deal, but some of them have lasting, lifelong implications, and some of them are impossible to erase. Now, when you form an LLC, it can be incredibly confusing. Regardless of whether or not you used a professional service, if you did it all yourself, there is a ton of information to take in, understand, as well as obligations and things that you need to do in order to keep your business active, compliant, and to keep yourself and your personal information safe and secure. It's important that you understand these things before you take the leap to get registered so that you know exactly what to expect, how to plan, and how to do things properly. Biggest mistake number one is not understanding the tax implications that you are going to face once you form an LLC. An LLC provides that additional layer of protection because when you form an LLC, you separate yourself and the business, forming a completely separate entity in the government's eyes. But forming an LLC also means that you then have further tax implications. The most important thing to note is that you are going to be required to pay an annual LLC fee. Regardless of whether or not your business takes in any money or actually turns a profit, you're going to be required to pay that annual LLC tax every year. Now, in my home state of California, the annual LLC tax is $800 for businesses that take in less than $250,000 of annual revenue. This tax applies regardless of your income, whether you earned money or not. And even if you lost money, you're still going to be required to pay that annual tax. The next big mistake that people make when they form an LLC is misunderstanding the benefits of an LLC, specifically with tax benefits. Many people form an LLC because they are under the incorrect assumption that LLCs equal tax savings. That is incorrect. Forming an LLC simply separates the business owner and the business entity. They're no longer one and the same. However, for tax purposes, LLCs with a single member, just one owner, are still defaulted to be taxed in the same exact way as a sole proprietorship, as a disregarded entity. For the purpose of taxes, if you're a single member LLC, the IRS and the government disregards that separate entity and all taxes automatically pass through onto your personal tax return. This is the same way that a sole proprietor is taxed. So if you form your LLC and you don't file any additional tax paperwork, you will be taxed exactly the same. There is no tax benefit. There's just that additional annual LLC tax, so it's actually more expensive. The tax savings comes in if you do one additional step, and that is registering your business to be taxed as an S-Corp. Now, changing your taxation status to be taxed as an S-Corp has a lot of implications, and you need to make sure that you have thoroughly talked this through with a tax professional before you decide to do it. Classifying yourself as an S-Corp is going to mean that you, as the business owner, must be an employee of your own company. And everything that comes along with hiring and paying an employee must then apply to you. You must hire yourself. You must put yourself on your own payroll. You must have a system in place for administering that payroll. You must register with the employment department of your state, and you must hold workers' comp insurance and do all the reports that are associated with those tasks. You can use a service like Gusto, which makes it really easy to hire, pay, and stay compliant with employment laws and payroll. This can be a big undertaking, and it is an additional expense. Having a payroll software or having a bookkeeper run payroll for you, as well as all of the things that come along with it, like workers' comp insurance payments, etc., can be a costly addition if you are not ready for it. Next big mistake that a lot of business owners make when they form an LLC is not realizing that they still need to register their business on the local level. LLCs are formed on the state level. This means that your secretary of your state is going to be the one registering your articles of organization and your statement of information. Once you have formed your LLC, you still need to research and be compliant with what is required on your city and county level of business registration. In most most cases, this is going to mean registering for a business license, a seller's permit, and a fictitious business name statement, also known as a DBA. Mistake number 4 is not doing the things that you need in order to keep your LLC active and compliant. LLCs have required maintenance that you need to do either annually or biannually, depending on your state's requirements. Make sure that you know exactly what is required to keep your LLC compliant. For most LLCs, this is going to mean filing an updated statement of information. Most often, this is required biannually, every other year. The next mistake is failing to separate your business and your personal finances. Now, if you're previously a sole proprietor, you might already have a series of systems in place. It's important to understand that when you convert to an LLC, you are required to completely separate your personal and your business transactions. Because you've formed a completely separate entity from yourself, you no longer can use any personal accounts for your business transactions. This means that you need to open business bank accounts and use those business bank accounts only for business transactions. Lastly, and very importantly, because this cannot be erased from the internet, it's going to be there forever, is understanding that all information that you use in registering and forming your LLC is going to be on public record. It is all searchable on the Secretary of State's database, and people do search for it. Now, when you form an LLC, you're going to be required to use 3 addresses: your business's physical address, your business's mailing address, and your registered agent's address. These addresses are all going to be listed on public record and searchable on the Secretary of State's website. Now, because they are searchable, they're going to be cross-referenced and listed in other places around the internet. For example, Google Maps will frequently share a satellite photo of the business's outside location, as well as the address in the Google business search results. There's also a wide variety of different companies who profit solely off of categorizing lists of new businesses and selling them to companies that want to try to sell to them. Therefore, the addresses that you use for these 3 registrations are going to start to pop up all over the place on the internet. However, if you're someone that's trying to maintain a certain level of personal privacy and you are not okay with that, then make sure that you obtain a virtual office and enlist the services of a professional registered agent. Now that you understand those big mistakes so that you can avoid them, the next step is going to be forming your LLC. I want you to watch this video next, where I'm going to show you the easiest and fastest way to form your LLC in about 5 minutes.